What makes you want to be here this morning and follow Jesus? We all have a reason, right? There's so many options in our lives, so many other ways to spend our time and our money and our abilities. Not the very least is, I bet your beds were pretty comfy and cozy this morning. Were they not? Yeah, I know mine was. So why are we here? We choose to do this, right? We choose to be here as one way of expressing our faith in Jesus. We choose to worship online. We choose to worship in person. And a question we might ask ourselves is, why? Well, let's hear from Luke 5, 1 through 11 this morning. Once, while Jesus was standing beside the lake of Gennesaret, and the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he saw two boats there at the shore of the lake. The fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, one belonging to Simon, and asked him to pull a little way out of the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we have worked all night long, and we have caught nothing. Yet, if you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were beginning to break. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so that they began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For he and all who were with him were amazed at the catch of fish they had taken, and so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid, for now you will be catching people." When they brought their boats to shore, they left everything and followed him. Ugh. Fine. I'll do it because you say so, but I don't think it's going to do any good. That might be my favorite disciple response to Jesus yet. How about you guys? I absolutely love it. It is so human. And any one of us could put ourselves in the boat that morning responding the same way. Now, for some of us, it may or may not have been a minute, but I am certain at some point in your life you have uttered a nearly identical phrase, and I am even more certain that if you have ever been around a teenager, I can guarantee that you've had it said to you. Maybe? You can practically hear the eye roll in that response. It's a moment of just being done, right? Just D-O-N-E, done. You can almost sense Jesus' half smile as the men in the boat sighed and threw their nets out for one last time, thinking, "This is absolutely crazy, but if this will shut him up, I'll do it," right? What we have here this morning, though, is a pretty glorious moment. This moment where we first see the light bulb go on for a few of the disciples, the moment when they realized there was something in life more than what they had been striving for, beyond what they had been working for. The moment they realized that what Jesus was offering them was well beyond whatever they could accumulate or do for themselves. And isn't that what really happens to all of us at some point in our life? We have those moments when we realize that there's something beyond ourselves, our needs, our wants, when we understand that life is more than just about us. We have no idea what Jesus preached about on the boat that morning, but whatever it was a balm for weary spirits that the disciples needed to hear that morning, and it changed their lives from that point on. Have you ever needed a balm for your spirit? Words given at just the right time that save you, give you the strength that you need to get through whatever is happening on that day in that moment of your life. I think most of you know that I'm also a very, very, very part-time chaplain at the hospital. And so this past week, I was there overnight. And I haven't been there in months. I got this new gig. You might have heard about it. So I haven't been there in a while. And I think because I hadn't been there in so long that I really noticed what was happening. And that is, friends, those chaplains are tired. They are tired, not just worn out like they were a few months ago, but bone weary, exhausted. And so are the nurses and the doctors and the techs and the housekeepers and everybody who works there. And I imagine it's that way all over the world. Alongside who else? Parents, probably. Teachers, social workers, therapists, pastors, caregivers all over the place are beyond exhausted. And yet, they keep going day after day after day, being faithful to what they are called to do in their lives and how they are asked to care for others. It's a miraculous thing, really, when we stop and think about it. People all over the world, people that you know, people in this very room are near their breaking point. And yet, they keep showing up day after day. They keep doing the hard work that they're asked, called to do by Jesus. If that's not faithfulness to call, I'm not sure what is. See, it seems like the men in the boat that morning, they were at their breaking point. They had done their very best, and they had come up empty. They didn't have any more to give, or they didn't think so anyway. But because Jesus asked them to, they tried one more time, eye roll and all, and it changed their lives. And they found out what they needed to keep going that day. And more than that, they found out that what they needed was Jesus. And how do you see Jesus respond to them? Do you see him take them to task for that sigh, that attitude, that eye roll? No, thank God. Jesus responds full of grace. He saw all that other stuff. He saw disbelief when he said, try it again, but what did he do with it? He extended his invitation to them anyway. And I wonder if we could show that kind of grace to one another a bit more these days. And while we're showing grace to others, perhaps we can remember to show that grace to ourselves too. See, we have to wonder if the disciples felt a little more than discouraged before their interaction with Jesus, if they felt like failures. They had gone out and come back empty-handed. How were they going to feed themselves? How were they going to feed their families? Now, it might not be the first time that they hadn't caught anything. We don't know. But you do know what it's like to try your absolute best at something and then just fall flat on your face. It doesn't feel good, does it? It's rough. And when that happens, what do? You beat yourself up, don't you? You tell yourself, oh, you're not good enough for whatever you're trying to do. You get this loop in your head that tells you all the negative things that you can ever say about yourself. Sometimes you even make room in your head to hear voices of other people who want to tell you how you failed at something. But that's not what Jesus did. Jesus lifted them up. Jesus gave them the encouragement that they needed. Jesus helped them see their worth and value through his eyes, and it humbled them. They had an option that morning. They could let their experience, their discouragement, their failure close their minds, close their hearts to anything that Jesus was trying to say. Or they could open their hearts. They could open their minds to what Jesus was trying to teach them, to how Jesus was trying to fundamentally change their life. And because they chose to open up, they learned the value of obedience that morning. Now, that's a word we often don't like, but that's what they learned. And it's an impossible lesson to learn if you've closed yourself off. See, here's the thing. No one would have blamed them if they had rejoiced in their good fortune. It was an extraordinary text. There was enough fish there that it meant financial security for them and their families. Not only would they not go hungry that day, they might not ever go hungry again. They wouldn't have to be constantly working to just get by. Those boats full of fish were every fisherman's dream. It was like they won the lottery. And what did they do? They gave it all up when they walked away. To not know where they would be from day to day, to not know what they would eat or where they would sleep, to have no financial security whatsoever, to not even be able to understand their job day in and day out and what they were supposed to be doing, following Jesus around from place to place. So we have to ask ourselves, what was it that made them secure? Because it clearly wasn't their jobs. It wasn't their community's expectations. For them, security wasn't even a full belly. So what was it? Perhaps their security was following Jesus. When they dropped their nets and followed him, they understood in that moment how everything they had been striving for was a temporary fix to what they needed in their lives. And what was really important was Jesus holding out his hand to them, saying, "Follow me. Follow me." That's where they would find their true success in life. That's where they would find their meaning. It's where they would find their hope that they had never even known existed before. See, they didn't learn to fail that morning. They learned to obey. They learned to follow Jesus. I heard a story this week about a pastor who asked his church board, "Do you know how to follow Jesus in your daily life?" It's an interesting question, is it not? We can make a lot of assumptions about that question. But he asked that question, "Do you know how to follow Jesus in your daily life?" And one woman kind of jolted and said, "No, I don't think I do." I wonder if we could all answer the question that way. I mean, it's why we're here, is it not? Not because we have all the answers, but because we're seeking answers to our life questions, because we want to sincerely follow Jesus. But how do we do that? And what does it even mean? I mean, that's a huge question. If you don't know what it means or how to do it, does that mean that you failed as a Christian? I don't think so. I don't think so. What if I told you that I have asked myself that very same question? Perhaps it's time that we told ourselves and one another that we need help following Jesus, that we need help in finding out what that means, that we need help to find meaning and hope and encouragement in life. And by asking for help, just by the nature of asking for it, we're able to find it for ourselves and in the same moment share it with others. An interesting thing that the disciples do on the lakeshore that morning is they had no idea where they were going when they walked off, leaving those nets behind them. But wherever they were going, they were determined to do it together and with Jesus. I wonder how we, as a faith community, can do the same. Amen.